All the news right here. Don't go away.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. And how's it hanging? Everybody's not happy with the weather they've been dealing with. Sorry, been dealt with this past week. And it's like, it's been clearing up. It's looking pretty good today. But we got to talk about the exposures by the man himself, Nick Shirley, went through California and exposed all these scammers, all these Somalian scammers, all these like whatever and shit, right? Like, we gotta forget about the Jews for a while. Shout out to like Tyler Oliveira. Like, I know you got canceled, and I know like you got like a bone to pick with these people and shit. Like, yeah, I know. They took away your Patreon and shit. It's pretty rough, but we gotta get back to that because much like the media, I also have selective outrage because something's been bothering me. You know, this past week and shit, right? Ever since I heard about it all over the weekend, like I think like before the weekend I heard about it. So the Sikh owner has a restaurant and he's like proudly doesn't want to serve halal food because apparently it's against his religion, something against sacrifice of animals, whatever it's against his code, whatever, right? And like they won't stop harassing him and shit. And the more I looked into it, the more strange it seems. It's like, wait a minute, didn't like a bunch of like Sikh guys? I think what they call themselves the Sikh Brotherhood. I could be mistaken, like the Sikh Lion Brotherhood or some shit like that, something like that. Anyways, or allegiance or something like that. And then they came through and they helped that girl who's getting groomed by some guys and shit. And then like whatever, right? That was like 300. I'm like, wow, whatever, right? They actually came through. But then like for this restaurant, we're like you don't hear anything. You're just hear crickets, silence. So being the curious journalist that I am, I went online and I'm like, well, I'm just gonna I'm gonna do what the kids do. Just type it in Chat GPT. Oh, what the fuck do they call it for Google? Whatever. Anyways, so I did, and then like, it actually gave me an answer, which it shocked me, but didn't really like surprise me all that much because it's like, well, he has a family. Like, you think that you put your fucking differences aside and defend his family and be like, hey, look, you gotta walk this shit back. We'll be here for you, but you just gotta stop making us look bad. Like we'll be here for your wife, we'll be here for your daughter, whatever, right? I think he has a kid and like family owned business and shit. And I wasn't shocked by the answer at all. Like I wasn't surprised because I knew about this the entire time. Like the participation of the Sikhs in the grooming gangs and shit, where you have like like portions of the population who are defending these Pakistanis and shit. And like I said, it's not all Pakistanis that are involved in this grooming gang. That's the fucked up part. Like people don't understand. Like when you're talking about the population of India or Pakistan, you're talking about a population of like close to a billion, right? Now Pakistan, right? It's a lot smaller than India population wise, but you're still talking about like hundreds of millions of people, right? Now all you need to do to like run with these grooming gangs is you need like a dozen plus whatever types of people, and then suddenly it becomes all too clear as to why they don't want to defend this guy in his shop and shit. It's because they need this guy, these Muslims, to facilitate, the sexual assault and grooming of young women all across the United Kingdom, and you're a year plus after the fact. So, like, if we were to take a litmus test and say, okay, so 2025 was the year that these grooming gangs were put on the radar, then what happened from then till now? Well, basically, maybe some charges have been given out, maybe some, like, penalties are more harsh and severe, but largely and in part, like these people have been operating with impunity for years now, and like not too recently, we had like a police officer in the OP, like not the OPP, sorry, the Toronto police. So that's not Brampton, but like he could have transferred and shit. Who was accused of this shit, right? Same thing too. It's like they get their peoples into police, into taxi cab positions, into like places of like eyes and ears everywhere, so that they can rape young children. and like, sexually, like, they bribe them first. Look, I can get you, alcohol. I can get you cigarettes, and that's why I like that this age is one of those ages where, it's not that big of a deal for like you see little teenagers like smoking weed and shit. I remember like back in the day, like when I was young, like when you were smoking weed and shit, like you get chased by pretty much everybody, mall security, other like guys who either wanted our weed or just like wanted to fuck with us and shit. And I bring that up because it's like these kids need to spend time with people their own age rather than these older ass men who like they come from like retard ass families and shit. Subhuman garbage. Their parents are fucking losers. They had arranged marriages and shit. They're like closeted, like constantly like staying inside and stuff. They don't know how to communicate and shit. And then they form in groups because it's like they think that women are like against them, have something against them. It's just like you don't want to exercise, you don't want to like do anything to better yourself. You're just a fucking piece of garbage, and we have to understand that like now that we can see it, right? This guy who's like a Sikh family, like what I mean, like one of their own, right? Who they're not willing to defend and shit, all because they want to rape kids, man. And now we know that like when you're seeing these Sikhs, right? Like probably 50%, if not more, you're probably seeing a fucking child rapist and shit now, because like the fact that like this is happening and he's it's not a good look, man. But like it also goes to show that like when it comes to their crimes and shit, right? They're not only willing to push the Pakistanis under the bus and accuse them of what they're guilty of, they themselves are guilty of, but like they're more than willing to like wait it out and just see like, hey, like this guy who's getting like assaulted by this like group of like Muslim guys and shit, let's just like wait it out and then like use him as a fucking human shield to defend against any criticism of our religion and shit, because like look at how heroic we are and this and that. But then like you gotta ask like the hard questions, because it's like, okay, well, where's your peoples at? We've seen this before, and this has been going on for like basically over a week now. I'm seeing new ass Instagram posts by the same guy, same shit's been happening to him, you know what I mean? It's that kind of fucking stupid ass selective outrage bullshit, right? What's the word that they like to use a lot? Inflammatory language. Yeah, fucking hell, eh? So it's not inflammatory when you're like doing it against Hindus and shit, right? Because it's like, because they're not gonna do anything to you, But when it's against Muslims, oh yeah, it's inflammatory then, right? Fuck up out of here. And also, this guy's a real one too. He's not about the fucking Khalistan bullshit, because he knows that if you're gonna have a country, right, and the way you get your country is by being a fucking bitch, blowing people up, killing like fucking civilians and shit, you don't have a country. You have a despot, a dictatorship that you rule over with fear of death, basically. It doesn't take a fucking rocket scientist to figure this out, But like, if you have the fear, right, of your people, like the Muslims have the fear of like, yo, if you mess with us, we're gonna blow you up, we're gonna send people after you, this, that, right? Then you can have control over their women, right? And that's what they want. The Sikhs call, and Punjabis in general, I think it's something to do with their stupid ass language, they call white women guri guri. And you can actually go on Pornhub. I did. It was just for fun. Like, how do you spell guri guri? And I actually spelled it. Yeah, boy. Of course, I didn't want to watch it because I'm like, damn, son. Whatever happened to you must have been like a conditioning. I don't want to have like any part of it to do with that. And they trivialize it, right? Like a lot of their women will dye their hair like to be like Caucasian, which is, there's nothing really wrong with it, but then like the idolization of it and all that shit, and then like it all comes back to jazz and shit like that, and it's like, you know, oftentimes people would like wonder like what she said and why she would say it, and I'm just like wondering why she would even speak to begin with, because it's like when we're talking about this relationship between the husband and the wife, right? The husband is the one making the majority of the money, even though she had like a very lucrative job in a bank previously. Like her going on the internet and just talking this trash, it's costing this man tons of money. Like the credibility of Akash ATM, as Myron coined it, is gone. It's absolutely fucking gone. And you have to understand why that is, right? Like Akash is basically a Hindu, but he has to call himself cuck out to their religion because he's so weak and pathetic. Right? And this is why one of the many reasons why I left Hinduism, because it's like you are forced to burden yourself with the weakness and the fallacy of other men. And I do mean fallacy because they're not men, right? Like you gotta draw the line sometimes and be like, you know, if you want to be a hoe, you can be a hoe with somebody else. Right? If you want to rape kids, you can go to your own fucking country and rape kids, but preferably you don't rape kids and I can kill you. Well, we live in a world where, you're prevented from, doing the right thing, right? This Sikh man, right? Harman Singh Kapoor, he doesn't get any defense from his peoples because they want to rape kids. These like young ass white girls across the UK because it's like a lot of money involved. And they're taking that money and they're funneling it out of the country. They're pushing it, sorry, washing it in the UAE, and now I'm hearing that they're trafficking girls back to Pakistan. Right? Sadiq Khan is the fucking mayor of this hellhole, and girls are literally being kidnapped and then sent abroad, most likely against their own will and shit, back to Pakistan to be trafficked. And all the while, we're like worrying about this war in Iran, where people are finally beginning to be free for once in like, 50 plus, 60 plus years. But like, you have to also think about like what led that to this point, right? What led them to this point? The fact that they were disenfranchised, right? And you can imagine how fucking like pissed off I would be, or like someone's grandma. I mean, actually, someone's grandma. She was like this Persian rug like artisan, seamstress, right? Whatever they call it. Spent her whole life, making Persian rugs and shit. And then she lost all of her money because the real was worth $0. First, it went for £0 because the pound's higher than the US dollar, to my knowledge, and now it's zero USD. Holy fuck, eh? I'd be fucking pissed, man. I'd be fucking furious, you know? Because you gotta look at who the fuck is responsible for that shit. The people who launched the missiles. Like, where's all my money? What happened to my bank account? Oh, that's right. You see all those missiles that you launched at Israel and shit, and all those fucking, tariffs and like sanctions and all that shit? Thanks a lot, you fucking retard. And you think that's it? Like these scams in California that have like exposed like billions upon billions of dollars being siphoned out of the taxpayer, like shows you why they go to such lengths to vilify you. Because it's like these guys are gonna do hard ass time, Like these grooming gang people up in the UK, like if there was actual justice, like if Rupert Lowe had his way and actually got elected, like these people will be hung easily. They'd be hung. Right? Well, I don't know what is the limitations of like the laws in the UK. I think they outlawed the death penalty. So I think it's going to be like something along those lines of extremity, but like within the parameters of their legal system, right? Well, like what I mean, right? Like if there were if Rupert Lowe were the next American president, this guy would get them in a firing squad and like shoot them in the air or some shit like that when they're airborne or some shit. But we have to understand that this is why. It's like they're laughing at you right in front of your face, but you can't do anything about it. But well, you can now. Just they want to rape you. They want to rape your children. They want to commodify your life, and they want to disenfranchise you because they're just that fucking stupid inside. They just are.